And I liken that unto just a seed, right? When a seed, I have seeds sitting on my desk right now. They're dormant, okay? They're not in the right environment. They're not in the right conditions for them to become what they already are, right? And so we have become dormant. There are skills inside of us that just have not been placed in the right environment.
In this episode of Voices from the Field, NCAT Gulf States Regional Coordinator Felicia Bell sits down with the principal farmer, Patrick Muhammad of Atlanta, Georgia. Patrick is the principal of the Chattahoochee Hills Charter School, where students from kindergarten through 8th grade learn about the world through the lens of agriculture, nature, and the arts. He also has a farm and enjoys helping adults learn to love the land and return to their farming roots. Let's listen.
Welcome to Voices from the Field. I'm Felicia Bell, Gulf States Regional Coordinator. Our guest today is Patrick Muhammad of Atlanta, Georgia, who is known as the principal farmer. He's a farmer and an educator, and we're excited to have him here. Welcome, Mr. Patrick.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Bell. I'm so excited to be on with you today.
Thank you so much. Well, we don't want to hold everybody up. Everyone wants to know what you do. And so, first and foremost, who is Patrick Muhammad?
Oh,
Where
yes,
did you grow up? What's your origin story?
absolutely. I am the proud product of East St. Louis, Illinois. I was born and raised there, did all my formative school years there. Um, and we were taught that that's the city of champions. And our city was more than enough for us. And so we live for our city. So even though I haven't physically lived in East St. Louis since 1993, I represent East St. Louis as being a product of East St. Louis. I then went on to college in Kentucky. I went to an 1890 college, Kentucky State University, where I majored in education. And then I moonlighted, I guess. I played basketball. I had a basketball scholarship. And upon graduating from Kentucky, I moved to Atlanta. I moved down south. And it's in Atlanta where I began to reflect more on my upbringing because the resolve that was instilled in us, the wherewithal, the take no as motivation, I was able to excel pretty quickly in Atlanta. And so I began my career in education and quickly moved up the ranks to assistant principal, principal, and then head of schools. Met my wife. She's in Atlanta. She's a Georgia peach. And so I've been married 25 years and I have three beautiful children. So by day, I'm an educator. I'm a principal of an agriculture school. And by evening, I am a farmer, a first generation farmer right here in Metro Atlanta.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that, just to let everyone know who you are. And again, that origin story. Now, can we deep dive a little bit more into that? Do you have an early memory of food or agriculture that you can see now have impacted you?
Absolutely. I have two distinct, well, maybe three, but two for sure. The one is sitting on the porch with my grandmother, my mom's mom, in East St. Louis, shucking peas. And we would sit there and she'd have her old house dress on, had a little bow, had a little apron, and we would try to sneak by her to go outside and play. She said, y'all come sit down. And we would be shucking peas or peeling potatoes. And the reason why that is vivid, I never associated that with my grandfather's plot of land that he was farming on. It was still inner city, but there was a plot near a church, and grandpa probably had three or four rows. And I only remember going out with him maybe one or two times. But that's that part about the growing side. Then one of my uncles, Uncle Lee, Uncle Lee lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. And Uncle Lee had this horse named Gabriel. And Gabriel was as crazy as they come. And no one would ever get on Gabriel. But I was just that child. And so I remember riding this beautiful black horse. And now that I know he was leading it, but I felt like I was riding in the Kentucky Derby. And so I have those two memories. And, they're called pleasure moments, right? They were dormant for years and I had forgotten about them. But over time, as I've gotten into this space of my life, those memories have come back. And so now I'm trying to tap into, what I miss from my grandfather. If I'd have known what I know now, I wouldn't have just been sitting on the porch with grandma. I'd have been in that back seat when granddaddy going out to the field and planting those seeds and learning how he did it in the city, probably on like a concrete slab with some dirt, not soil, dirt there, right? And so, but those are two of my most vivid memories.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing those stories because we know that our family makes such an impact on our lives. And it sounds to me, you have that positive impact in your life when it came to food and agriculture.
Yes.
Yeah, as little children, the shelling of the peas, we want to ease on by, but that was part of family. You
Yes.
did it because that's what you ate for dinner and several dinners later. So that was part of your job as one of the children in the family. So I definitely remember that and stuff, but it do bring back memories and it's very, very impactful for the farmers of today. We do always go back to that. Now, can we shift gears to your skill set? You've been a teacher and a principal, and now you have your own farm. What brought you into education and agriculture? Like, how did you get here?
Yes. So, my mom teases me because she said I would talk about, as a young child, Mom, I'm going to have a house so big, I'm going to have a dolphin in my backyard. And, for a kid in East St. Louis with the Mississippi, muddy Mississippi, a couple blocks away, I'm nowhere near ocean. But I'm talking about having a dolphin in my backyard. Even when I went to college to study marine biology. But listen to the disconnect. I went to study marine biology in Kentucky. Ain't no water in Kentucky. So I remember sitting with my coach, and he was like, "Okay, son, we're about to do your schedule. What you gonna study?" And I was like, "Marine biology." He was like, "Son, you're in Kentucky. There's no water. You needed to go to a school in California, down in Florida." And so he was like, "Well, you got to do something else." And I was like, "Well, I'll try education." So that's how the education that came about. But the skill set, I have a saying, desire feeds the will. So I've always had a desire to be outside in nature, experimenting. And I was the one that would try to talk to the squirrels. And I had a dog growing up. And so I've never been afraid of animals. And so when I met my mentor that got me into agriculture, he had piney wood cattle. And what was so intriguing was as he told me the story of the piney wood and how the piney wood was indigenous to Africa and how they were brought over here during the slave trade and they lived on the East Coast and their horns over time began to curve to live in the woods. And then their cousins were taken out west, and that's the Texas Longhorns, right? And so just looking and marveling at how evolution happened with those animals just been intriguing for me. And so my skill set has to come from some family member that I'm tapping into that I'm not aware of. Miss Bell, you can drop me off in a pasture with 50 bulls and I'm totally comfortable, right? I have horses now. I only have the memory with Gabriel, but I have, I don't know, 16 horses that I manage and then another eight that are my personal. I handle sheep I understand the genetics and the biology of, so it's there somewhere. I haven't been able to put my finger on it, but it comes too natural for it not to be already inside of my DNA. And so I've been taught as a child that your cup runneth over only when you pour out to others. And so I've always warned, if I learn it, you're going to learn it. Like if you're around me, my skill is your skill. And so I've been pouring out my skills. So now all of my friends, instead of my mid-age friends, getting a Harley Davidson or a Corvette, all my friends have horses, right? Like you can't even be my friend if you don't have a horse. And so I attribute those skills to someone in my family, and I've just been able to develop them along the way.
Now, I love that story on the notion of the friendship, because yes, the middle agers are known to go get the things that they couldn't get or afford because we were raising children in our 20s. But I like that your friends like, no, I got to stay up with my friends, so I got to get a horse. But just knowing that and understanding that they know who you are, they know your heart. That is a true friendship. That is truly a true friendship. So that is an amazing story to know. And then the DNA. So many people don't realize innately we know how to farm. All of us, no matter who you are, we may be 5 generations away. Our children and grandchildren may be 7 generations away, but it's still within them. Still within them. And so people will say, oh, I don't have a green thumb. And I'm like, you do, just go out there. You have to tap back into it. If you want to start growing food for yourself, just go outside and start. Because that innate ability, that DNA within you comes back up. It comes up. And people are so surprised that they had it and didn't know they had it. And I'm like, we are built to last. We're built to last. We have a lot within us that we just have never tapped into.
And I liken that unto just a seed, right? When a seed, I have seeds sitting on my desk right now. They're dormant, okay? They're not in the right environment. They're not in the right conditions for them to become what they already are, right? And so we have become dormant. There are skills inside of us that just have not been placed in the right environment. And so stepping out on faith and getting to the form, my dormant DNA was placed in the right environment. It was at the right depth. It had the right amount of sunlight. It had the right amount of moisture. And so this skill set that's flourishing from me is part of my DNA. Likewise, when you plant that seed in that right environment and, that faith of, okay, it says that this is a cucumber seed. It don't look like a cucumber right now. This thing, it don't look like what is this, right? But you place the cucumber seed in the right soil with the right nutrients, and you give it time, that seed becomes a cucumber that's able to give more seeds from generations to come. And so we have to encourage our colleagues to tap into that DNA that's laying dormant. So come out to the farm, ride the horse, come out and help me plant some of my seeds. Come out, you want to buy some eggs? Eggs expensive right now. Come on to the house and get some of these fresh eggs, right? And so those experiences, something's going to cause them to be in that right space, and they're going to begin to germinate. And once they germinate, the rest is history.
I love that story. That is a story for each and every person on the planet, because we need to take care of ourselves food-wise. Let's start there. So many people think, oh, I got to have acreage. I don't have to have acreage. Let's start with one little pot. One little pot. That's all. Because you got to get what we just said, the DNA juices flowing. And so, oh my goodness, that is such an amazing story. Just to tie that in, to understand we are dormant. All we got to do is just step out in that pasture, in that soil, that backyard, and we can have an amazing abundance of
Yes,
food for our family. And if we choose to share with our neighbors, we should be sharing with our neighbors.
that's right.
But if we choose to share with our neighbors and just continue that abundance of everything, it's not just the food, it's abundance of community and
Mhm.
everything. So everything will fall in place if we just start with that one little seed, one
That's
little
right.
seed.
That's
That's
right.
all. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that story and just pulling that all together. Now, we have talked, said many statements about you being a principal. Can you share what is your school about? Where is it located? What type of school it is? What age range? Could you just give us this beautiful synopsis of what you have created for young people?
Yes, I am the most blessed principal on the planet. I have the opportunity to run Chattahoochee Hills Charter School. We're right in South Fulton, Georgia. We sit on 11 acres. We have 540 children, kindergarten through eighth grade. Our school's theme is learning is in our nature. And so we focus on three particular categories: sustainable agriculture, environmental awareness, and appreciation of the arts. So we're taking children outside of Metro Atlanta and we're exposing them to the natural environment. I believe that the greatest curriculum and the best classroom is nature because every day is different. Like today, if we need, we can study, we can study rain, we can study the volume, the rate of speed, right? We can study temperature, and it's different than looking at it in a book. Step outside and do it. And so our campus, we have access to 820 acres of woods. So we go hiking in the woods. A quarter mile from our campus, we have an environmental center where we study birds of prey, we study reptiles, we study amphibians. It's a rescue facility for birds of prey. And then all of our buildings are individual buildings. Almost, it looks like a campground. And so what that allows us to do is our children are outside throughout the day, going from class to class. So that fresh air, experiencing the elements, seeing the birds fly by, it just creates this joyous, happy, energetic experience. And so kindergarten through eighth grade, and then our families, it's a lottery. And I'll be honest with you, I just did tours this week, and I had over 1,000 families come. And, of course, I'm excited to share my school, and I see their anticipation and the hope, and I see the baby's eyes. But I only have like 12 slots, right? And it's humbling that many families want to come because we are really doing something good. It's just we're at capacity. When families come in kindergarten, they don't leave. Like they will move in with grandmama, auntie, cousin, or the next door neighbor. We are now family, so they can keep their slot, and that's a great reflection on the work that my team does as well. But we're looking to expand in the future. But yes, it's a great opportunity, and it's a charter school, so we can do very unique um, aspects of instructional strategies, workshops, etc., because we have the autonomy as a charter.
Would you like a chance at 10 great raffle prizes? NCAT's annual ATTRA program survey is underway, and we want to hear from you. How do you use ATTRA resources? How satisfied are you with them? What benefits and impacts have you seen from them? The survey helps us identify ATTRA resources' strengths as well as opportunities for improving them. It also helps us understand and communicate the impacts of ATTRA. Take the survey and you'll have the satisfaction of contributing to an even better ATTRA in the future. And of course, you also have a shot at those 10 great raffle prizes. Answers to the survey, which only takes about 10 minutes, are anonymous. So head out to the ATTRA website at attra.ncat.org and let your voice be heard.
Oh, I love that. And please, you got to come back and share with us when you do the expansion.
Oh, yeah.
Because we want to share that with our audience. We want people to know that you are expanding, because that's phenomenal to have that many people show up, but you are really at capacity. To
Yeah.
have 12 slots, you're at
Yeah.
capacity.
We're at capacity. And I didn't share about our animals. So throughout, this is year 10, and I've been here 7 years. And so in my tenure, I am that fun guy. So we've had everything from alpacas to pigs who became hogs, miniature ponies, donkeys, a whole quarter horse on campus, goats, sheep, rabbits, a bearded dragon looking at me right now, boa constrictor, Great Pyrenees livestock dogs, guinea pigs, and more. Right. And so we are a farm. Right. So when I say that, sometimes people are like, oh, yeah, you do farming. I'm saying, no, 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 no. We are a registered farm with the USDA. And so we do have our NRCS equip. We have our highly erosionable land. We have our drip irrigation. We have our greenhouse. We have our check dams. So my students are able to meet with engineers as they walk us through our equip within NRCS. We have contracts with a couple companies. There's a couple hair product companies that use natural products for the hair base. So my students are growing the roots like burdock root, marshmallow root, moringa, chamomile. My students are growing that for a product that's actually on the shelves right now. So they get the chance to experience sourcing, packaging, labeling, and marketing. And then we have some other opportunities. We do hydroponics and aquaponics on campus.
That's amazing. Sign me up. Can I go back? Can I be 5, 6, 7 years
Yes,
old
yes.
again?
Come on, come on. We can do it. We can do it.
That is amazing to hear. And I know that the students are getting amazing education just because they're in nature. Nature is teaching them and leading and guiding them in how to live,
Yeah.
because it's not about the packaged bags, boxes, cans. They're
Mm,
really learning how to take care of themselves under the agricultural flag, to say,
yeah,
hey, I can feed myself, but then also, oh, I can create a business. Oh,
yeah,
I can do this. I can actually take care of myself. And
yeah.
that is what we have lost for so many years, that notion that agriculture can take care of you
Mm,
across the board.
yes, yes, absolutely. And in that, one thing that we push here is agriculture literacy. So, we talk about the academic gaps, from families of high income and low income. And oftentimes that gap is created from vocabulary. Vocabulary is limited from experiences. And so through agriculture, there's so much new language that my children are hearing that they would not typically hear in their inner city subdivision homes. So if we're talking about the pH, if we're talking about composting, if we're talking about hydroponics, if we're talking about slope, rate, speed, right? If we're talking about cover crops, um, if we're talking about seedlings and make sure we have the right nutrients, and that's language that they are being exposed to that will expand their vocabulary. So when they're in a situation to where something is unfamiliar, they'll have a different reference point to be able to solve, those answers, et cetera. So I believe that's one level of agriculture literacy that's going to help our students grow and be more academically successful.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. My next question, I'm gonna have to switch it up a little bit because
Okay.
of how you have answered. Because the question was going to be, why did you add agriculture to the school? But with what you just said, the school was added to agriculture because the farm was there. So what made you want to start teaching, period, regardless of the age? Because, we can
Yeah.
teach adults, we can teach children. Just what gave you the notion to add a school to the farm?
Yes. And so my experience being a first generation farmer, That first year to 2 to 3 was very humbling because I did not know what I did not know. Like we literally moved from a 30-foot yard subdivision to 31 acres. So that learning gap was tremendous, right? From fencing and what's a T-post? I don't know what y'all talking about, right? So, fence stretchers, and I had all those gifts that you get for Father's Day, that's cute tools that don't work on a farm. Right. So there was such a learning gap, but because we believe in cup running over, I mean, we're having tours at 3 months, 6 months. It's hundreds of people coming to the farm, and they're like, "You guys are so amazing." I'm thinking, like, I literally learned that yesterday that I just taught you, right? And so, just the excitement from the community. There was so much excitement, Miss Bell, from like the first 2 years. The city gave my family our own day. So in the first 2 years of farming, they crowned Your Faith Farms Day, and it was very humbling, and we appreciate it. I'm thinking, like, if we're the standard, we're in trouble. But in that quest, when I came to the school, I noticed that when I got here, it was only the hogs, and when I say hogs, they started off as pigs, but they had been in the same spot, and it was more like an aquarium situation, and the children were just feeding them, right? So if you feed a hog will consume it. And so when I start asking about, like, hey, how are we integrating the agriculture into the school, there were just no answers. It was like, we have it. So it was present on campus, but it wasn't really part of the campus, right? And so I'm like, that's you're not learning from that. It's having a dog that's a pig that's in the backyard tied up, right? What kind of quality of life? And so from my experience as the adult, this new adult and my family on this farm, I saw this great opportunity to begin to work with the next generation. See, going to an HBCU, Miss Bell, and playing college basketball, it was not until years later that I realized that I went to a land grant college. I'm there. We know that there was a farm on the other side of campus, but nobody went over there. I don't even know anybody that majored in agriculture at my school. And it's an 1890 land grant college. So from my embarrassment that I didn't take advantage of the college while I was there, I'm very intentional in making sure the next generation sees these opportunities that's there. So in essence, I'm trying to make a mini 1890 here, right? So we have FFA, we have 4-H. Our greenhouse, honestly, is the same greenhouse as at Fort Valley. I mean, the thing is amazing. Drip irrigation, mist irrigation, temperature control. I can control it from my phone on the weekend. I can open up the shade, close the shade. Right? So they're getting exposed and handling um, real life tools and materials. And so that was the part about creating this ag space. Now, I kind of stumbled on the fact that my same NRCS representative at my personal farm supports the area where the school is. So just in conversation one day, I was like, "Hey, how much acres do you need to be a farm?" And she was like, "Well, Patrick, you only need 5." I said, "Well, my school got 11." She was like, "Well, technically, that's a farm." I say, "So I can get a farm track number for the school?" She was like, "I don't know. Let's try it." Right. And so some of that we kind of stumbled into. And then once we realized, like, we're on to something. And then the USDA reduced the acres to 1/100 because of all the urban ag initiatives. Now we go around and show schools, oh no, you're a school, but you really could be a farm. You're sitting on 2 acres. You're sitting on 3 acres. And so some things we stumbled into, and some things there was such a void that as we begin to try our best to fill those voids, we were able to create this great agriculture space.
Wow, that's such an amazing story just to know that you really started at zero. You started at
Yes.
zero. Just to
Yes.
understand that, I can be a farm, school, farm, whatever way you want to put it. Oh,
Yes.
that's an amazing story. Can you share some of the success stories from your students? And
Um,
because you're saying once they get in, they stay in until
yeah.
they graduate. So I know you have had some success stories.
Oh, absolutely. So my oldest students are juniors in college right now. So that first graduating class are juniors. Many of them are studying veterinarian sciences, um, food sciences, animal husbandry. Some are in business. And because we're such a close family, I mean, they come back for awards day and speak at our awards day. Some of them, yes, went into the athletics. Many of my students have started their own businesses already in the ag space. Um, so you'll have some that are pseudo chefs, they're making dishes. We have a lot of them that volunteer at farms around the city because they like really have experience. And it's different when you say, "Oh, someone wants to volunteer." Have you ever been around a farm? They're like, "I'm at a farm every day, from 7 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock." Like I know how to put the goats up and close the goats and change their bedding, and I know how much to feed them, how to lock. Make sure you lock a gate. You don't go through a gate and don't close the gate. So a lot of them are doing that. I would say my one of my most proud moments is a young lady that was extremely shy here. And she mentioned to me in one conversation that she wanted to be a veterinarian. And so, but she was so shy, she wouldn't do like any of the volunteer experiences, while she was here. And so I kind of followed her when she went to high school because she had siblings here. And so I reached out to Tuskegee University and told them about this young lady who's extreme, 4.0 a scholar. And we told her and her mom about the 1890 land grant scholarship. And when I tell you that baby secured that scholarship, nobody in her family had ever gone to college. She's been raised by her, actually been raised by her grandmother. Um, and now she's going to be a vet. She's already interning. Is it Critter Fitter? That's two Black veterinarians that are from Tuskegee that have a facility. She's interning with them, so it makes you feel good knowing that you created an environment where a seed of a child that had been dormant from whatever was in her DNA, we created the right environment that she got enough nourishment for her roots to go down. Now, taking her over to Tuskegee, she's germinating, and now she's going to be able to send a shoot up, right? And Tuskegee will nourish her as she begins to get ready to become harvest, right? And then she'll be able to pour back to my babies here. So that's one of the success stories that I would have to share.
That is amazing. And I'm familiar with the gentleman. I cannot think of their names as
Critter
well.
Fixer.
What is it again?
It's Critter Fixers.
Oh, Critter Fixer.
It's
I
their
have
show.
received them. Oh, that is amazing that she's able to do that. And yes, she'll be that veterinarian working alongside of them or move somewhere else and open up her same type of facility. But that is amazing to hear that story of the shyness. When you're
Yes.
shy and you're seeing as an educator how to bring that out for her to blossom. And then nature is assisting you to bring that out. Oh, that's such an amazing story. Oh, now, what's the dream for the school? What's your dream for the school?
Good question. My dream is to one, expand to high school. So we're kindergarten through 8th grade. Well, I need to go down first. I need to go pre-K because I have so many 4-year-olds. They're like, can we bring them down? So I will go pre-K all the way to high school. But my high school would be pathways for sure. Agriculture pathway, environmental pathway, and art pathway. Um, I would do my best to align each pathway to a university, 1890, that focuses on that. do my best to, once they take their ninth grade academics, once they hit 10th grade, they're taking college classes already. The campus, that high school campus, oh, it would be amazing. We have an equine center. We'll have a dairy center. We'll have a mini processor on campus for like birds and chickens, etc. We'll have an apiary on campus, a beautiful orchard. We'll have all the equipment from the tractors to the spreaders to the tillers to the mowers. We will partner with like the local botanical garden from our art side and allow the students to be able to do topography and make those beautiful sculptures that are landscape but have an art feel to it. We will partner with all of the state representatives that are in that ag space and bring in some additional funding and really just prepare them for a future that's unlike what their parents and were able to experience. Right? In Georgia, agriculture is $84 billion a year, right? There's so many jobs. Yes, I want my babies to be doctors, lawyers, physicians. I'm just saying there are additional alternatives that are very respectable careers and enjoyable careers. And so that would be the desire to point them in that direction.
That is a phenomenal dream. And then at the end of this conversation, I definitely want you to share where people can find you, but we want our listeners also to donate. So we as the ag community can make this high school happen. So putting out the call to action.
Yes, we're putting the call to action. Absolutely.
Putting out the call to action.
and look, we've had 2 White House visits for various reasons. And I found a high school in New Orleans, in Louisiana, that was sponsored by the USDA. So every time I get a visit, I print the article out and I wait for the right moment and slide in and say, hey, there's a high school that $80 million was given, and that's in Louisiana. It'd be great if it's in Georgia. So I've been working that angle as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, we need to help push that.
Yes,
so
yes, absolutely.
That pre-K down to 4-year-olds all the way up to high school. That would be amazing. And then future tense, we're going to take it to the higher ed. We're going to do the college too. We'll add that in there.
Yes. Can you imagine what our forefather George Washington Carver has done? Can you imagine if he had that experience since he was 4? What would have been created from that brilliant mind? And so being able to put them in situations where they're doing hands-on experiments and failing at things and mastering at 4, 5, 6. Cancer, that's nothing. They'll cure cancer, right? Diabetes, they'll figure out how to cure that because they'll have the opportunity along the way to master the sciences.
Wow, that's so amazing to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, we know that when you shared it with us privately, I want you to share. We know that you're helping adults enter into the field of agriculture by helping them access land. Can you share about your work in that arena?
Sure. So my dad would always say, you should want for your brother and sister what you want for yourself. Right. And so if something is so good and beneficial, you don't want to be selfish and not share it. And so there have been many families that have come to the farm and they're walking around and touring and they make that mistake and said, ooh, Patrick, if you can find us one, you should have said it. And so I literally get joy in, searching online or driving around and getting lost in rural areas and finding a sign and finding a farm. And then when someone asks, I'm able to say, like, what do you need? Oh, we only need 2 acres. Hold on, let me scroll to my 2 acres. What are you going to do on the farm? Oh, I just want to do some quails and have a little sunflower garden. And so it's been very humbling to help over 30 families to relocate to farms across the country that we've either walked the farm first with them, found the farm, walked the farm, help them find a realtor. Once they get to closing, delivered animals to them or help them get their farm track number, help them plant their first garden, help them get their first product to the farmer's market. It's been extremely humbling. And then to see how their families are thriving from the lack of light pollution and noise pollution. Like we go outside and we can look at the stars. Like that's a forgotten art. To go outside and lay on the ground and look up at the stars and wonder, right? That's a lost art in grounding, right? People don't take their socks and shoes off and walk on the grass, right? But we come from the earth. We're connected to the earth, so helping families to experience that. And I have some stories about some medical conditions that people have, gotten away from because they moved to the farm, they're eating directly from the garden, et cetera. But yes, that's been a very rewarding journey in helping others secure land.
Wow. And I know you have changed the trajectory of many families by doing that, just
Oh,
helping them access land that have changed it.
yes, yes. We have just recently helped a family. They have some air property, and it was all in limbo. We were able to help them figure that out, and now the granddaughter is moving back to the farm, leaving the big city and going back to the farm to begin to take care of property that her grandfather owned and grandparents.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. That because it just changes the outlook of life. And
Mhm.
the ones of us, because I'm a legacy agriculturalist. It's
Yes,
been in
ma'am.
our family for many, many years. And the ones of us, and we don't take it for granted either now, don't
Hmm.
we never take it for granted. But me hearing that and knowing how I was raised, and now I know how that young lady's children and grandchildren, this granddaughter that's going back, and now the rest of the family that's yet to
Yeah,
be born, how
yeah,
their lives are going to be. That
absolutely,
just warms my heart because
absolutely,
it
absolutely.
is such a special place to be raised and work in nature. Like people just don't know until you do it. You can't even describe it. And
No, no.
that's what, and then a funny story on my side is when I actually started school, when you were talking about that 4-year-old,
Hmm.
when I started school at that age, that little 3-4-year-old person, and I'm thinking that something is not quite right because no one knows what I'm talking about. It's because
Mm,
I thought everybody was raised on a farm.
mm.
Being that young, I'm thinking everybody was raised on a farm. So you can see the impact that
Yes,
agriculture had on me that I'm thinking, y'all missing out. And I'm just
right.
3-4 years old, like, y'all really are missing out on life.
And
And
look
just,
how many
yes,
families did not
yes.
experience that. Look how many fled the South and went north. And, our great grandparents that, were freed from slavery and took their last dollars, dimes, nickels and acquired that land or sharecropped on the land to get the land. And we get these quote unquote good jobs and we run so far away from it. But then we don't know how to cook. No one kept the recipe book. We're depending on somebody else to feed, clothing, and shelter us. And now we're coming down with all these diseases that's shortening our lifespan as compared to our poor grandparents that lived on a farm, that lived to 92 and 98 and 100-year old. We live in the good
Yeah,
life and dead at 62, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's our job, it's your job, it's my job to make sure this next generation is a lot wiser than that. And they're
Yes,
mindful.
yes,
Every time you put something in your mouth, either you're extending life or you're working to end life.
yeah,
And we have to be
yeah,
that.
yes. And it's that simple. It
Yes.
is that simple.
Mhm.
And oh my goodness, that's just, just to be able to hear that about that granddaughter and so many other families,
Yeah.
30 families, 30 plus, because I
Yeah.
know You
Oh,
probably
it's
got a
incredible.
list of people you got to call.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's just so many families you have changed the trajectory of their lineage.
Yeah.
That is such an awesome story. I thank you so much for sharing that. Now that you have built this beautiful project with your school, the farm, helping others access land, what is your succession plan? Have you thought about what does it take to ensure that what you have put in place continues into the future?
That's an excellent question. My initial succession plan is I hope that one of my three children will continue with our family now legacy, and I know they will at some aspects because I pump it inside of them. um, but my legacy would be to expand this brand. I do have some desire. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I got to give some of this back to East St. Louis because East St. Louis made me, it raised me, it shaped me. And so I want those little Patricks there to get a chance to experience it some kind of way. If I end up putting a school guarding at every school in East St. Louis, then I'm going to do that, right? Um, I want to um, um, travel around the country to the despised and the rejected communities and show them this ag avenue. I would love to be a proponent and a champion of all the 1890s and go to high schools and show children like there is an option for you. Um, and I would love to just be that weird farmer in the community that shows up to schools with a trailer, and reads a book. And when he opens up the trailer, there may be an alpaca and a sheep and a horse coming out, and he shows you an egg and a baby chicken, and he shows you a chicken, and he's teaching life cycle, and then you taste some microgreens and holding a mustard seed, and then showing you different flowers. Like I know I'm going to continue touching the next generation, but I know these 540 that are benefiting, we got to do it for more. And so I want to be able to duplicate and replicate this work so that we're touching 50,000, we're touching 100,000. And so some of that will be done digitally with some courses that we'll probably put together. But I just want to, my good and faithful servant, job well done. Like I want to be able to hear that one day that my time on this earth was so impactful. When a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? It absolutely does make a sound because those in the forest knew that it was present one day. And so that would be my succession plan.
Wow, and it's definitely going to happen. One, because of the work you have done, your immediate local community. But then I pray that this go worldwide, not just in the United States, that everyone hears your story and support you. So with that being said, could you share websites, any channels, anything that you have where people can tap into what you're doing?
Oh, I thank you. And that's sweet of you to allow us to share. So our simple website is theprincipalfarmer.com. So if what the guy do? He did something. What was his two careers? He's a principal and a farmer. So if they get that, theprincipalfarmer.com. And that's all of our social media. Right now it's under our current name, Your Faith Farms. And it's farms with the S, because even when we first got it, we said we're going to help other people get farms. It got to be plural. We didn't know we were speaking that in advance, but we said that it's going to be plural. We do have our first book coming out about our story, Farming by Faith. We're almost ready to release that, but they'll be able to find that on our websites. And then I do have a course that I'm working on And they can find that as well on the principalfarmer.com. So if they go to the principalfarmer.com, everything is there. We have some free resources there. We have videos on YouTube where people can watch, and I'll show you how to make a raised bed. I'll show you how to start a seedling, because sometimes we have to be willing to give information away because we got it from an infinite source. We don't have that much exclusivity that we think we do.
Yes.
So we got to make sure that you got to give some so you can.
Yes.
But yes, the principalfarmer.com and Your Faith Farms, they can find everything about us.
Wow. Thank you so much. I just appreciate this. You taking the time to do the interview with us, and just, wow, you are a wealth of information. And just the service that you're giving to your community and abroad. Like, I know it's people, like you say, around the country, you have helped to access land. That's just tremendous. It just, wow, just so nice to know you.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And so grateful to be able to share this and stuff. So I thank you, Mr. Patrick, for everything that you're doing. And we just want more people. Again, I want everyone to remember the call to action is to go to theprincipalfarmer.com and you find that donate button.
Yeah.
So we can get this high school going.
Yeah.
Because that is the next goal. And we need our farmers to help other farmers. We want our farmers to help other farmers to continue the legacy that we know is true to our heart, but it's also the sustainability of everybody on the planet.
Absolutely.
And so we definitely want to put that out there for everyone. We thank you so much, Mr. Patrick, for joining us today. And we look forward to part 2 later on down the line where you can share more with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to you, and thank you to your team. And it's been an honor to get a chance to share just a few words with you and an organization that are doing wonderful things for people like me.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Additional information about this episode and related resources can be found at attra.ncat.org. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to Voices from the Field wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Rich Myers. ATTRA, Voices from the Field, is produced by the National Center for Appropriate Technology, headquartered in Butte, Montana. It's supported by the USDA Rural Business Cooperative Service as part of NCAT's ATTRA Sustainable Agriculture Program. Any opinions, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this recording are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the USDA or NCAT. We'll catch you again next week, and until then, keep on farming.